All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at Bellator 291, and that goes down on February the 25th. A very intriguing featherweight fight set to go down as Janay Harding and Sinead Kavanagh get out there to test skills, and happy to be having Sinead on the show. How's your day going so far there?
Oh, good. And plenty of interviewers today. So I just done a bit of training this morning, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and I'm curious with this particular fight, just with it being a rematch and all, like you got the victory at Bellator 207 and, you know, everything like that, or the fight went down at Bellator 207, and I mean, just an interesting fight in a certain sense, just it having been October 2018. I would think both of you have grown, I guess, leaps and bounds since then. Like, I guess it's a bit of a two-part question. Like, what do you see as the biggest differences in not just your own game, but I guess also in your opponent's game relative to the first time you guys fought?
Yeah, the first time we fought, I got cut, and I got stopped from the cut, which the cut man let me down. You know, I thought I could have been stopped the cut, but going forward, I think I've come on so much more than what the fighter I was in 2018, and I've all-rounded now, like, with jits and stuff like that, you know, and I'm ready to go where the fight can take me. And with Janay, I think, like, she's come on a lot, like, you know, and it's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, and I mean, interesting too, because it's exactly 1 year to the day that you're getting ready to come back. Like, what do you think about that? That's kind of a fun bit of, you know, serendipity, just the last one being February 25th and, you know, this next one being that same date.
Yeah, it's going to be like the anniversary of the ACL, you know, and it's crazy because Bellator was meant to be on the 24th and it got switched to the 25th. Yeah, it's going to be a year out from the fight. And I don't like it. It's to tear me ACL and me MCL, like it's a quick one for me to get back for a year. I think, you know, it takes people longer to get back to the fighting, and me to get back into the cage after a year. Like, I'm really looking forward to it, and doing what I love.
And I mean, you touched on it there, and I wanted to get some insights on that too, because in an article I was seeing kind of, you know, recapping the fight, it was saying like around like 30 seconds into the fight was when like the major damage was sustained. And I mean, what was going through your mind during all of that? I mean, obviously showing a lot of mental fortitude with how it played out thereafter, but like what's going on in your mind during that sequence? I would think you'd be acutely aware that there's at least something wrong, maybe not the scale of the damage, but something wrong.
Yeah, she took me down. Leah took me down, and that you can see my knee goes in different angles, like as I fall down, and I'm on the ground, and my whole leg then is just dead, like it's numb and dead, and it was just like a dead limb on my body. Like I had no feeling in my leg whatsoever. As I go to the corner, then John said to me, saying it to John, my knee is gone, like John, and he was like, you have two, don't you? it was like a real rocky thing. and then I go back out, and I was just using her as a crutch to keep myself up, you know. But I knew it was definitely, I just didn't feel right. I couldn't stand on.
And I would think it would be just like an interesting set of mixed feelings, because obviously I'd think you'd be in a tremendous amount of physical pain and everything, but in a certain sense it's like you also get a victory over a notable contender in the division. It seemed like a good camaraderie moment with, like, you know, John Kavanagh and Conor McGregor kind of carrying you to the back. Like, I guess a bit removed from the situation, kind of looking back at it as a memory, like what are your main takeaways from that night? Is there a certain level of, I guess, thinking of the glory kind of excitable component of it, or is like the injury like the predominant thing with that, or is it a bit of a mixed bag maybe?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one that I'll always remember is my mental strength to keep going on and fighting on one leg, like, and getting a win over over someone that's a black belt, and I was blue. I got me purple belt then, you know. And I'm beating at her own game, like, you know. So I'll always take that and remember that moment. And yeah, it was a big moment. It was the best fight of the night. It was entertaining. Like, no one knew what was going to happen next. Like, there was so many twists and turns in that fight that it was a fight to remember for sure.
Yeah, and it seemed like you were elated getting to, kind of get on the comeback trail. Like I saw a video circa like earlier this month where you were talking about how much you love being back to like full wrestling training after like the damage to your ACL and MCL. Like what were the feelings like when you were able to like get back to, live training to a scale of, ramping up, preparing for a fight?
Sorry, would you say that again, Dylan?
Oh, just like being back, and like I saw you had a post saying you're able to like fully wrestle and how much you enjoyed that. Like, what were the feelings when you were able to like get back into like the full training, like training to a scale of preparing for a fight?
Yeah, wrestling was the last thing I was like on my recovery was the last thing to do was the wrestling because of the awkward positions. Like, so when I was back wrestling, like I felt like I missed it so much. I felt good, you know. It was like I finally see like the light at this recovery. You know, it was finally over for me now. You know, that I could get stuck in the sparring to everything that I want to. You know, and I had set the goal in I think it was September, November to set the goal for the fight in February, and I've achieved that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, back at 3 Arena and everything, I imagine you'd be excited about that. It just seems like it has such a unique kind of atmosphere to it. Like, how does it feel for you as like a competitor being kind of at the nucleus of all of that? Because it seems like one of the more lively crowds in MMA. Like, how does it feel being in the middle of the 3 Arena crowd?
Oh, it's amazing. I absolutely love it, and it's like you get such a buzz from walking out and hearing the crowd, and you're ramped up like to prove like gladiator, like kill or be killed, and you know it's special to be there to fight in that crowd. You know, Romero loved it. Like everyone that fights there loves it. Like it's something special.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of an interesting fight too, because like we were saying before, this is like a chance for like a bit of redemption there, kind of evening up the series. And I mean, returning back from injury, like maybe you're not even thinking of it like this, but is there a certain, I guess, path you have this year, like a certain idea of like strength of schedule, like maybe an idea of where you'd like to be at the end of the year kind of thing, or just with the injury, maybe it's like more of a take it fight by fight kind of thing?
I want to have the three fights this year. Like, you know, I've been let down. Like I've only had last year. Only had the one fight. The year before, the one fight because of the COVID. So this year I'd love to get 3 fights in by the end of the year and 3 wins. That's the goal to have. So I'm hoping I can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were putting results like that together, I mean, I think you'd be at least right back in there for, contending for the title once again. Is that something you're kind of thinking of too? I would imagine that would be an express goal down the line to get another crack at that, featherweight belt.
Cyborg here in Dublin, that's where I want it. You know, last time I fought her, it was an explosive 2 minutes, but I got into a brawl where I hit her and I rocked her. She hit me and broke my eye socket. So yeah, I definitely want to do that rematch, and I want that in Dublin. That's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, that would be great. And I guess like to the point of like, I guess the road to that, like, I mean, we're talking about opponents you've previously tested skills with. I mean, Arlene Blencowe is an individual who would, fit that bill, and someone who's like just in the, rankings position a bit above you, with her being, 2 and you being at number 3, like not getting ahead of this fight, obviously, but I would imagine that would also be another one you'd like to have at some point this year or even down the line.
With Arlene?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I fought over it as well, and that was a close fight. It was split decision. Arlene won, but I thought I should have had my hand raised. That was a long time ago as well. So yeah, I would love to, a rematch with Arlene. That's explosive. I reckon that's don't blink in that fight. Like the two of us are very powerful women. Like
yeah, that would definitely be one I would enjoy seeing. And I guess I'm curious because like a lot of the information around you has you training out of like SBG Ireland, but like I guess I'm curious as to like the main people you're like sparring with and getting in that direct work with while you're there.
I train with a lot of different bodies. But I do spar Lucy. As her second name is Palova. I think Paluva or something. So she fights at bantamweight in the UFC. So I spar with her. You know, the two of us are take the head off each other. It's always explosive with me and her, and so she's a great sparring partner. She just keeps coming forward, and our engine is just doesn't stop. So I've been sparring her a lot, and being hit a lot, you know. So yeah, all is good.
Yeah, I was gonna say a talented fighter seems like some classic like iron sharpens iron kind of work, for like lack of a better way to phrase it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's a good girl, you know, and I have to think with her, I can't throw silly shots. And yeah, we're good training partners for each other.
Yeah, and it seems like there's some good representation on the card too. Like I saw you had a post a while ago where you were hanging out with like Artem Lobov and Pedro Carvalho, and with Pedro being in the co-main event. Like, is there that certain kind of sense of camaraderie in a particular way? Like, the team with their individual tasks kind of walking into the event. Is there that sort of sentiment almost like a team feel?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, just with like Pedro being in the co-main and the ties you guys have, like, is that something that excites you? Like, is there like a team camaraderie kind of thing with that?
Oh, definitely. Well, especially when you're in the background, we're all warming up. We all see each other walking out. We're all clapping for each other, and then watching the fight on the screen, just seeing how well they're doing. Yeah, it's a different experience for sure. And yeah, it's what's the word? Yeah, it's just a different experience. Seeing everyone walk out, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I always love watching those cards and stuff like that. I mean, you love seeing how much SPG fires up the Ireland crowd. But I was seeing recently, it looks like you've got like Black Forge Inn on the team now. Is that where the after party is going to be? You guys heading to Black Forge Inn?
Yeah, the Black Forge, yeah. Once you go in, though, you don't come back out. The doors are locked, and that's it. It's the next day.
No, I love to hear that. That's fun. But you've been really great with your time. And like I was saying before, I imagine there's other people that want to talk to you as well. So is there anything you maybe would like to kind of add as like a final parting thought as we're wrapping up, Sinead?
It's just good to be back. That's it.
Yeah, and I think anyone who follows Bellator is very excited to have you back, and this Bellator 291 fight is going to be a great one, a very intriguing rematch, and yeah, excited to check that out on the 25th. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Sinead.
Thanks, Dylan.